I remember the day I turned 85 as if it were yesterday. My family gathered for a small celebration in my living room, filled with laughter, balloons, and a big chocolate cake. Despite the warmth of the moment, a quiet worry gnawed at me. Deep down, I feared that my birthday might be the beginning of a slow fade into isolation. I had always prided myself on being independent, but driving at night was already getting tougher, and the distances I used to conquer behind the wheel seemed more daunting. What if this was the start of losing the freedom I'd cherished all my life? That fear became more concrete a few weeks later when I received a letter from my insurance company. They kindly suggested I take a driving assessment to ensure I was still fit for the road. It felt as if someone had wrapped a tight band around my chest. What if they found something that disqualified me? Would I be confined to my home, forced to rely on busy friends or family just to run errands or visit the doctor? The mere possibility of losing my independence and burdening others weighed heavily on my heart. In truth, this scenario is one many seniors face, often much earlier than 85. And the stakes are high. When we can't move around freely, loneliness can creep in. We start skipping social events, postponing doctor appointments, or missing out on daily joys that seem small but mean the world, like popping into the bakery for fresh rolls or taking a scenic drive just to admire the changing leaves. Without a reliable way to get around, we risk losing not just convenience, but our sense of autonomy and dignity. Yet I'm here to share some encouragement. Over the last few years, I've tried multiple transportation solutions that helped me stay active and connected, and not a single one requires me to be completely dependent on anyone else. If you stick with me through this entire discussion, I'll show you 6 ways to maintain your freedom, each one more surprising than the last. The final solution I'll share is something most people overlook, yet it's often the key that ties everything together and keeps you in control of your everyday life. I'm not speaking as a mere enthusiast. I've lived through the transition of letting go of certain driving habits and discovering new ways to get from one place to another. Some of these methods involve technology, others involve simple community resources. Doctors and aging specialists are increasingly recognizing just how vital these methods can be for seniors who aren't ready to give up on their dreams. And after all, it's not just about convenience. It's about embracing a life where you can still walk into your grandchild's birthday party under your own power or show up at your weekly book club without having to beg someone for a ride. Before we dive in, I invite you to join our community here. If you enjoy insightful discussions about staying independent and living with vitality, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future topics. And if you find this information helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and let me know what I can improve. Either way, your feedback helps me refine what I share so we can all lead fuller lives. Let's explore these 6 transportation solutions that transformed how I move around after 85. Some may seem familiar, while others might catch you by surprise. Yet each one has the power to reshape your daily life, letting you hold on to the independence you treasure. Now let me start with the first solution that challenged my own assumptions about conventional ways of getting around. I've often said, the biggest barrier isn't our bodies, it's our beliefs. For years, I thought that being able to drive myself everywhere was the ultimate badge of independence. But as my eyes grew less reliable at night and my reflexes slowed, I realized that insisting on the same old approach could actually put my freedom at risk. The bold truth is that many seniors cling to their cars, thinking it's the only way to stay independent, when in reality, letting go, or at least getting creative about when and how we drive, can actually extend our autonomy for far longer. The first solution revolves around optimizing daytime driving and partnering with loved ones for nighttime rides. Now, many folks believe that if you can't drive yourself 24/7, you're practically giving up. That's a common misconception. My friend Geraldine, who's 88, used to joke that if she couldn't drive to her Tuesday knitting group at 8 p.m., she might as well move to a retirement home. But she discovered something unexpected. By choosing to drive only in the morning and afternoon, and coordinating with her granddaughter for the late evening sessions, she felt more in control, not less. That might seem backward. How could driving less often lead to more independence? The reality is simpler than you think. Cutting out nighttime driving reduces stress and the chance of accidents, which keeps you legally and physically on the road for longer. Instead of risking a late-night fender bender or a jarring near miss, you're preserving your safety record and energy. Geraldine's daughter worried less about her, and so did Geraldine's insurance company. Their premiums actually dropped after she self-restricted her driving times and reported it. Now Geraldine experiences a sense of relief. She can still zip around town for doctor appointments, grocery shopping, or a lunch date with old friends, and she's less anxious doing it. If you're considering this approach, here's a practical step you can try tomorrow. Mark out a safe driving window in your schedule, perhaps 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Then for the evenings, find a reliable friend, family member, or even a local volunteer driver to help. This arrangement immediately cuts down on the biggest risks, keeps your costs low, and preserves your independence. Best of all, you'll feel a surge of confidence once you see how smoothly your day can run. Imagine waking up knowing you won't have to wrestle with night glare or rush hour traffic in the dark. You'll head out in daylight, comfortable and assured, making every outing safer and more enjoyable. In many ways, it's like stepping out of a noisy room into a quiet garden. Your mind can rest, and you can move about more freely because you're not constantly worried about the dangers lurking in the nighttime shadows. This solution gave me my peace of mind back, and I believe it can do the same for you. Trust me, you're not losing anything by driving less in the evening. You're actually gaining hours of worry-free mobility and extending the years you'll be able to drive. Now let's talk about a second solution, one that's equally powerful but often overlooked. You might think ride-sharing apps are for the young folks, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Most of us seniors grew up in a world where, if you needed a ride, you hailed a taxi. But times have changed and so have technology and communities. Here's my bold statement. Using ride-sharing apps is one of the most empowering decisions an older adult can make. Yet many seniors believe these apps are complicated, or they fear trusting a stranger behind the wheel. Consider Dan, 90, who lives just a few streets over from me. He once believed that only reckless teenagers hopped into cars with strangers they found on their smartphones. But Dan's daughter showed him how to download a popular ride-sharing app, and his entire perspective shifted. The biggest misconception, however, is that ride-sharing automatically strips you of control. In fact, it can grant you more control than your own car might. For instance, Dan can see exactly who is picking him up, how they're rated by other passengers, and exactly how much the trip will cost. No guesswork. He can also plot his route in advance. While that might sound suspiciously simple, it's actually a game changer. Before, Dan used to limit himself to doctor appointments or grocery runs to avoid the stress of driving. Now he visits local museums and coffee shops just because it's easy and safe to do so. If you're hesitant, try this. Download a ride-sharing app on your phone or tablet. You can get someone to help you set it up. Take a short trip to a familiar place, like your nearest grocery store. Notice how you feel in the car. Often, drivers for these apps are courteous and patient, especially once they see you're a senior who may move at a different pace. And if you don't feel comfortable, you can end the trip whenever you want or even cancel before it starts. The key is taking that first ride and proving to yourself that you're not dependent on personal driving skills alone. The emotional benefit is huge. You'll stop worrying about what-if scenarios. What if my car breaks down? What if I get lost at night? And start focusing on the places you want to go. It's a relief to turn the handle of your front door, step outside, and know you can be anywhere you want without the pressure of navigating or parking. Your world gets bigger, not smaller, when you embrace these modern tools. Since we're now at the end of the second solution, I'd like to check in with you. If this conversation is resonating and you're still here, comment the number 2 below. Let me know you're on board with these ideas and thinking about trying them. And remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Your support helps me continue creating these discussions so we can learn together. As we move to the third solution, let's explore something that might surprise you. Volunteer driver programs. So many seniors don't even know these exist, and that's a shame. For decades, we've been told that if family can't drive you and you can't drive yourself, you're out of luck. That's a deeply ingrained misconception. In reality, countless communities have volunteer-based transportation services specifically for older adults. I recall meeting a delightful lady named Beatrice, who's 87 at my local community center. She was almost in tears of frustration because she'd stopped driving altogether after a minor accident. She felt embarrassed relying on her son for every single errand, especially since he worked full-time. She believed there were no other options. Then someone told her about a local senior center that connected drivers with riders at no cost, or sometimes just a small donation. Beatrice gave it a try, and it changed her life. She had a volunteer driver named Patricia, a retired nurse in her 70s who enjoyed staying active and meeting new people. They became fast friends. Once a week, Patricia would swing by, help Beatrice into the car, and take her grocery shopping. Sometimes they'd stop for lunch. It wasn't just about running errands. It was about regaining a sense of purpose and connection. Many seniors like Beatrice think these services don't apply to them, but they absolutely do. The surprising truth is that volunteer drivers often feel just as rewarded as the passengers. You're not burdening them. They signed up because they want to help. It's a beautiful exchange of goodwill. The practical step is to contact your local senior center, place of worship, or city council office to ask if they have a list of volunteer driver programs. If none exist in your area, you might find a neighboring town that does. Don't be shy about it. Remember that these services exist precisely for people in your situation. Once you tap into this resource, you'll notice a profound emotional shift. Instead of feeling like you're bothering someone, you'll feel welcomed by a community that genuinely cares. You'll form new friendships and expand your social circle. It's like opening the window in a stuffy room. Fresh air rushes in, bringing relief and new life. And the best part is, you're still in control of your schedule. You decide when and where you need to go. You just have an extra helping hand that makes the journey safer and more fun. This leads perfectly into the fourth solution, which is all about embracing technology, but in a slightly different way. I call it the tele-everything approach, and it challenges the idea that you always have to leave your home to maintain independence. We often assume independence means going everywhere physically, but that's not entirely true anymore. The misconception is that if you're not physically traveling to places, you're somehow less active or connected. Let me share a story about Harold, who turned 89 and began struggling with hip pains so severe that even short walks to the car were agonizing. He felt trapped. If he couldn't easily get to the doctor or run basic errands, how was he supposed to live a fulfilling life? Then he discovered telehealth appointments, online grocery shopping, and virtual social events. Initially, he thought it was too high-tech for him, but with a little help from his grandson, Harold learned to schedule video calls with his physician, where he could discuss medication and get advice without leaving home. He also started ordering groceries online, something he initially dismissed as young people stuff. Every Friday, his groceries arrived at his doorstep. And guess what? He even joined a virtual bridge club. He meets online with 3 others across the country and plays a few rounds from his living room. This approach doesn't eliminate the joy of in-person experiences, but it supplements them in a way that reduces the need for constant travel. The surprising insight here is that using fewer in-person appointments and errands can make the times you do go out more meaningful. You'll save energy for the experiences that truly matter, like visiting your grandchildren in person or attending a friend's milestone birthday. It's about preserving your resources for the activities that bring you the most joy. Here's a practical step. Try booking your next medical checkup as a telehealth appointment if it's an option, or place a small order through an online grocery service to test the waters. You'll quickly see the convenience, and you might feel a sense of liberation. No more scrambling to arrange transportation for every little thing. Emotionally, it's like lifting a heavy burden from your shoulders. Instead of feeling guilty for asking someone to drive you around multiple times a week, you can handle routine tasks remotely and plan your outings more strategically. Harold told me he feels like he gained back hours of his life. Now he can spend more time walking in the park when his hip allows, rather than sitting in traffic or waiting in clinic lobbies. Before moving on to the fifth solution, let's pause for another check-in. If you're finding this information valuable and see how these ideas could fit into your life, comment with the number 4 below. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Your engagement and support help keep this channel going strong. The fifth solution is a bit more old-fashioned, but in the best possible way. It's the concept of carpool clubs with neighbors or friends in the same age group. Many seniors dismiss this idea because they think carpooling is for kids going to soccer practice. But that's a misconception. When I first learned about a senior carpool club in my neighborhood, I was skeptical too. I pictured minivans full of rambunctious teenagers. However, I quickly realized this could be a lifesaver for us older adults. Take the example of Lucy, 86, and Roy, 84, who both needed regular trips to the community pool for aquatherapy. They discovered that they lived just 2 blocks apart. Instead of each of them driving alone, Lucy hated morning traffic, and Roy couldn't drive after 3 p.m. They agreed to split the week. Lucy drove them both in the mornings, and Roy took over after lunch. By combining forces, they reduced their individual driving loads and still maintained autonomy. They no longer fretted over scheduling multiple appointments or feeling too fatigued for the trip. The truth is, a carpool club isn't about giving up control. It's about sharing responsibilities. You might worry about conflicts or complicated schedules, but in practice, it often runs smoother than you'd expect. The key is finding people with similar destinations or timetables, maybe church friends, neighbors who frequent the same grocery store, or folks from your gardening club. You can formalize it or keep it casual. The practical step: ask around or put up a small notice at your local senior center or place of worship. Looking for a carpool buddy to Walmart on Wednesday afternoons can open doors you never expected. Emotionally, this arrangement does wonders for your peace of mind. Instead of isolated trips, you enjoy social interaction. You laugh about the day's news or share cooking tips on the drive. You save money on gas, reduce wear and tear on your car, and relish the company of someone who understands your pace of life. It's like planting a small seed of community that blossoms into deeper connections and a more reliable transportation schedule. Now let's explore the sixth and final solution, which is probably the most underused yet potentially life-changing approach. Learning to use public transportation in a way that actually feels comfortable and safe for seniors. Yes, you read that correctly. Public buses, subways, or trains. Many older adults assume public transportation is crowded, confusing, or unsafe. But that's not always the case, especially if you live in or near an area with a decent transit system. My neighbor Josephine, 87, used to shudder at the idea of taking the bus. She believed it was too risky, that she might trip, or that it was designed only for younger folks on a tight budget. One day, her grandson suggested a trip downtown by bus to watch a summer festival. Reluctantly, Josephine agreed. To her surprise, the bus had priority seating, a driver who waited patiently for seniors to board and sit, and even a friendly passenger who helped her figure out which stop to use. She found out that, in many towns, seniors ride at discounted rates, or even for free. It transformed her outlook. Now Josephine uses the bus to reach local museums or meet friends for lunch, and she feels more independent than ever. The misconception is that public transit is a last resort. The surprising reality is that it can be an incredibly liberating first choice once you know how to navigate it. If you're nervous, take a short practice trip with a friend during off-peak hours. Watch the route, ask questions, and get used to how the boarding process works. You'll likely discover that many bus lines or train systems are more senior-friendly than you expected. The emotional benefit is profound. You feel like you've cracked a secret code for city navigation. Instead of depending on someone else's timetable, you can go on your own schedule as often as you like. You'll also get a little exercise walking to and from stops, just enough to keep you limber without the stress of driving. Now that we've reached the sixth solution, I'd love to see your thoughts. If you made it here, comment with the number 6 to show you're still engaged. Share which solution piqued your interest the most, and if you haven't done so already, subscribing will ensure you don't miss future discussions where we explore more ways to maintain an active, fulfilling life well into our 80s and beyond. Let's bring everything together. We've walked through ideas that stretch from adjusting when you drive and using modern ride-sharing apps, to harnessing volunteer driver programs embracing telehealth and online services, creating carpool clubs, and finally discovering how public transportation can be a real ally. Think for a moment, which of these solutions could you apply first in your own life? Each one is designed to empower, not restrict, and each step paves the way for a lifestyle where you're in the driver's seat, figuratively and sometimes literally. The clock is always ticking, and time is one resource we can't get back. If you do nothing, you might slowly slip into a smaller world, feeling like each day is a bit more of a struggle. But if you act now, if you pick at least one of these six solutions and give it a sincere try, you can experience a renewed sense of freedom. It's like opening a map you thought was too complicated, only to find clear paths to every place you want to be. Picture yourself a few weeks from today. Maybe you took your first rideshare trip and felt the thrill of exploring a local park without the stress of parking. Or you decided to sign up for a volunteer driver program and you've met a caring new friend who brightens your day each time you ride together. Perhaps you discovered you love ordering groceries online, freeing up your energy to attend that pottery class you've always wanted to try. Or maybe you and a neighbor formed a mini carpool club, chatting away as you run errands together and laughing about how you never saw this solution coming. Whatever path you choose, remember it's your journey. One small shift now can lead to a big transformation tomorrow. If any of these approaches resonate with you, let me know in the comments. Share your favorite tip or the one you're most likely to use. I read every comment and learn from your experiences as much as you learn from mine. And don't forget, there's a whole community of us here eager to share, encourage, and support one another. If you enjoyed our time together, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone else who might benefit. Maybe a friend who's hesitant to give up driving at night, or a family member searching for ways to keep you safe on the road. Together, we can spread knowledge that helps all of us lead richer, more connected lives. Thank you for staying with me until the end. It means a lot that you value your independence and are taking steps to preserve it. Always remember, you hold the power to adapt and thrive at any age. Don't let fear of change or unfamiliar technology stop you. You've made it this far in life. This next chapter can be one of continued exploration, excitement, and growth. I look forward to hearing about your experiences, and I can't wait to see what you'll accomplish next. Now let's keep moving forward with confidence because no matter how old we are, the road to independence is always open if we're willing to find a new way of traveling. I'll see you in our next conversation. Until then, stay adventurous and keep exploring your options. There's a big world out there waiting for you.